The baggage claim area at Denver International buzzed with the usual chaos. Rollers clanking, babies crying, tourists murmuring as they scanned the conveyor belts for their luggage. Detective Sean Whitaker stood off to the side, his eyes scanning the carousel like radar. At his side sat Axel, a 6-year-old German shepherd, muscles tight under his black and tan coat, alert but still. Until he wasn't. Without warning, Axel's ears pinned back, and he exploded forward with a guttural bark that silenced the room. The leash jerked hard in Sean's hand, nearly slipping through his fingers. "Axel, heel!" Sean barked, yanking the leash reflexively. But the dog didn't respond. Axel was locked in, fixated on a dull gray duffel bag, circling slowly on the conveyor belt. His snarl deepened, hackles rising like a ridge of bristled wire along his back. People began to back away instinctively, creating a clearing around the carousel. TSA agents reached for their radios, one hand hovering over their holstered weapons. Sean's gut tightened. He'd worked with Axel for 4 years. This wasn't aggression. This was something else. "Step back!" Sean shouted, holding up his badge as he pushed through the crowd. "Everyone, clear the area!" Axel was pulling hard, nearly dragging him toward the bag, now completing another lazy loop. "Well, something's in that bag," a TSA officer muttered, watching the dog with wide eyes. Sean didn't answer. He already knew. Axel wasn't reacting to explosives or drugs. His partner was a cadaver dog, and if Axel was losing his mind over that bag, there was one terrifying conclusion: death. Sean gave the nod. TSA agents moved fast, grabbing the bag off the belt and placing it on the cold tile. Axel lunged again, but Sean yanked him back just in time as a bomb tech stepped in. The zipper was slow, methodical. Inside was a neatly packed row of clothes. Beneath that, a box, cardboard, old, taped shut. And inside that, nestled in white cloth, was a porcelain doll. Pale face, blue dress, one glass eye, and in its hollow torso, something that didn't belong. A finger, severed cleanly at the joint. The nail painted light pink. Still soft, still fresh. On it, a silver bracelet engraved with 2 initials. Koram. Sean's heart stalled in his chest. He staggered back a step before instinct snapped him upright again. In the crowd, a man turned pale and started backing away. Slowly at first, then faster. "Hey, you! Stop!" Sean shouted, letting Axel go. The dog was on him before security could even react, tackling the man near Gate 6, teeth bared in a silent snarl, pinning him with surgical precision. Sean rushed over, badge out, adrenaline thumping behind his eyes. The man was sweating bullets, hands raised, breathing in short gasps. "I didn't do anything, I swear." "What's your name?" Sean asked, kneeling beside him. Jason Riley. I was paid to bring that bag through customs." "By who?" Riley shook his head, eyes darting. I don't know his name. Just a guy. He met me at a truck stop near Cheyenne. Said it was for his grandmother. Family heirlooms." Sean narrowed his eyes. "And you didn't think it was odd that he paid you in cash and told you not to look inside?" Riley looked like he was about to cry. "I needed the money." TSA took Riley into custody while Sean led Axel away from the scene. Though the dog kept looking back, ears pinned. Even now, Sean could feel the storm gathering behind his ribs. C.R. Claire Reynolds. It had been 10 years since Claire vanished. No witnesses, no body, no closure. Only the echo of her laugh in Sean's memory and the hole she left behind. He glanced down at Axel, who was finally starting to relax. The dog's chest still heaved with tension. "You knew, didn't you, buddy?" Sean whispered. You felt her in there. Axel didn't respond, but he leaned into Sean's leg. Hours later, back at headquarters, the doll was sealed in evidence, the severed finger preserved and labeled, and the bracelet photographed under bright forensic lights. But Sean couldn't stop staring at the initials. His mind kept circling the drain, returning to the same question. Why now? Why Claire? Axel lay on the floor of the evidence room, staring at the table where the doll sat. He hadn't taken his eyes off it since they entered. Sean sat down beside him, his voice quiet. You broke protocol today, he said. First time ever. Axel's ears flicked, one soft whine. And I don't think you regret it. A knock at the glass door. Dr. Talia Monroe, the department's new forensic examiner, held a clipboard and a grim look. We ran a quick scan on the tissue, she said. DNA's a match. Sean blinked. To Claire? No, she said slowly. To Brooke Reynolds. Claire's cousin. Sean's world tilted. Claire had a cousin? Yeah, 23, missing 3 weeks. No media coverage. Guess the family didn't want it public. Sean stared at the bracelet again. C.R. Brooke. Claire. The room felt colder. Where the hell did this bag come from? He muttered. Talia raised an eyebrow. You might want to ask your courier. Sean turned to the interrogation room, where Jason Riley sat hunched over the table, face pale, hands shaking. Not because of guilt, but fear. And something in Sean's gut told him this wasn't just a freak coincidence. This was something darker, something deliberate, something personal. And Axel, the dog who never broke protocol, had just pulled him into it. Whether he was ready or not. The lights in the interrogation room buzzed softly overhead, casting pale circles on the table where Jason Riley sat, twitching like a man with bees in his bones. His hands wouldn't stop moving, drumming, fidgeting, wringing invisible water from his fingers. Sean Whitaker stood behind the one-way glass, arms crossed, jaw tight. Talia Monroe stepped up beside him, lab coat wrinkled, tablet in hand. Tissue analysis came back. The finger's DNA matches a missing persons report filed 23 days ago. Name: Brooke Reynolds. Sean's head turned slowly. Reynolds? Talia nodded. Your fiancé's cousin. Claire and Brooke shared a maternal bloodline. Same mitochondrial markers. Sean stared at the man in the interrogation room as something cold settled in his chest. So that bracelet wasn't hers, he murmured. It was Brooke's. Same initials. Different woman. Same blood. That's not all, Talia said. We found trace amounts of zolmiratol in the tissue. High-dose sedative, strong enough to paralyze motor function. Brooke was alive when they cut the finger off. Alive, restrained, and likely sedated. Sean's throat tightened. Jesus. Talia didn't flinch. There's more. Marks on the skin around the wrist. Fine abrasions consistent with man-made restraints. But here's the part that bothers me. These abrasions are nearly identical to another case I worked before transferring here. Sean turned to her. Which case? Unsolved Jane Doe. Same clean dismemberment. Same sedation traces, same markings. Different state 3 months ago. Sean processed that in silence. Let me talk to him, he said finally, motioning toward the door. Jason Riley flinched the moment Sean stepped into the room. I told them everything, he said quickly. I didn't kill anyone, man. I swear it. Sean dropped a photo onto the table. Brooke's missing persons photo. Brown eyes, faint dimple in her chin. A girl who could have been anyone's sister. You know her? Jason didn't answer. Sean placed a second photo beside it, an old one. Claire, bright smile, wind in her hair, the same chin, the same eyes. "This one you remember?" Sean asked quietly. Jason's face twisted. I never met her. But the name, yeah, the guy who gave me the bag, he said it was for Claire's family. I didn't think much of it." Sean leaned in. "Start over, every detail. Now." Jason swallowed. "I was in Laramie, Wyoming, waiting for a bus. Guy sits next to me, average-looking, mid-40s, clean-cut, black coat, ball cap, no logos. Said he needed someone to carry a bag through Denver. Paid me $5,000 in cash." "Why you?" "I don't know. I guess I looked broke enough. And I was. Rent behind, job gone. I didn't ask questions." Sean didn't believe in coincidence. Not anymore. "You were targeted," he said flatly. "The man knew who you were. Knew your history." Jason blinked. What history?" Sean slid a paper across the table. "You're Brooke Reynolds' biological father. You gave up parental rights when she was 2. Jason recoiled like he'd been slapped. "How do you know that?" "She grew up thinking you were dead," Sean said. "Guess you weren't dead enough." Jason's face crumpled. I didn't know they were connected. That bracelet, I didn't see it. I swear to God, but Sean was already standing. "You weren't just a courier, Jason. You were a message." The evidence board in Sean's office was already filling up. Photos, maps, red string, Claire Reynolds, missing. 10 years. Brooke Reynolds, missing. 3 weeks. Last seen, Boulder, Colorado. Current status, partial remains recovered. Likely deceased. The names crawled across his mind like vines. The connection between the women was undeniable. Blood, timing, even appearance. And then there was Axel. The dog lay in the corner of the office, eyes open, ears twitching. He hadn't relaxed since the airport. Every time someone walked past the hallway, Axel perked up like he was waiting for something, or someone. Sean glanced down at the dog, remembering the day they met. It had been a warehouse raid, standard narcotics op, a breeder's compound on the edge of the city, dozens of malnourished dogs, crates stacked like tombs, and in the very last cage, there'd been Axel, just a year and a half old, skin and bone. But his eyes, those eyes stared back at Sean like they already knew him. He'd taken the dog home that night, against every department policy, against every piece of protocol he ever followed. But Sean had felt something. Axel wasn't just a dog, he was connected, like he could feel ghosts still hanging in the air long after everyone else forgot they were there. And now, after years of tracking bodies and comforting grieving parents, Axel had led him back to something personal. To Claire, to Brooke, to a new nightmare that felt an awful lot like the old one. Sean drove out to Boulder the next morning. Brooke's last known address was a duplex near campus, cheap student housing with a crumbling porch and overgrown grass. A young woman answered the door. Hoodie, messy bun, suspicious eyes. "You the cop?" she asked. "Detective Whitaker?" Sean replied. "You her roommate?" "Yeah, I'm Jenna. Brooks was my roommate." "Mind if I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. "She's been gone 3 weeks. Everyone keeps saying maybe she just ran off, but that's bullshit. She wouldn't. Not like that." Sean walked into the bedroom. Standard college chaos. Posters, books, makeup cluttered across a desk. And in the corner, a cardboard box of Brooke's things that Jenna had packed away. Axel entered the room and froze. His posture changed immediately. Ears down, shoulders low, nose twitching like crazy. Then he growled. Low, quiet. directed at the corner of the room near the bed. Sean turned slowly. There was nothing there. He crouched, pulled the bed back. On the wall, deep gouges. 10 narrow scratches, parallel, desperate, fingernail marks. She used to say she felt like someone was watching her, Jenna whispered behind him. Said the room felt cold, like something was under the floor. Sean ran a flashlight across the boards. Old, warped wood. Nothing obvious. Then Axel moved, nose pressed to a scarf at the bottom of the packed box. He whined, then growled again, lower this time, like the sound was being dragged from somewhere deep in his bones. Sean picked up the scarf and brought it to his face. Vanilla, gardenia, cedarwood, Claire's perfume. Back at the office, Talia met him with a folder. Ran the markings on the suitcase through VICAP, she said. We found 3 matching cases across 3 states, all within the past year. Victims? All women, all missing, all presumed dead. Similar age, similar build, no suspect, no leads. Sean swallowed hard. This is bigger than Brooke, Talia said, and it didn't start with her either. Sean looked at Axel, now sitting at the edge of the evidence board again, staring at Claire's photo. Somewhere inside him, Sean felt it too. This wasn't the beginning. It was the continuation of something that had started a long time ago. And Claire had been the first to bleed. The sun had just begun to dip behind the mountains when Sean Whitaker parked in front of the aging student housing complex outside Fort Collins. A chilled breeze swept through the open lot, kicking dust across the sidewalk. Axel sat upright in the back seat, his head tilted, ears twitching. Sean stepped out, scanning the rows of beige duplexes. The building looked like every other college rental, cheap siding, peeling paint, bikes chained to rusty racks. But this one had secrets in the walls. Brooke Reynolds' last known residence. Jenna, the roommate, met Sean at the door. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I called the landlord, she said, her voice hushed. Told him you'd be by. He gave permission. She led Sean down a short hallway. Axel padded beside them, alert but quiet. After you left last time, I kept thinking about something Brooke said, Jenna murmured. She told me she felt watched. Said she'd wake up in the middle of the night and feel like someone had been in the room. Sean glanced at her. Did she report it? She thought she was imagining things. They reached Brooke's bedroom. Jenna hesitated, then pushed the door open. The scent hit immediately. Dust, something sweet, something faintly decayed. Brooke's bed remained stripped. Her posters curled at the corners, and the old wood floor creaked under Sean's boots. Axel refused to enter. He stood at the threshold, low growl in his throat. Then he began pacing, nose to the baseboard, back and forth. Suddenly he stopped, locked onto one wall. Sean followed his gaze. He dragged the desk away and knelt down. The drywall was scuffed, nothing obvious, until he ran his hand across the lower corner. Deep scratches, 10 of them. They raked across the wall like claws, gouged through paint and plaster. Some had dried blood at the tips. Sean's breath caught. He'd seen this before, 10 years ago. Claire's apartment, same scratches, same spot. Jesus, he whispered. It's the same pattern. What is? Jenna asked, stepping closer. Sean didn't answer. His mind was racing, digging up memories buried for years. Claire had vanished without a trace. No forced entry, no signs of struggle. But Sean had found something, marks behind her bed, hidden by a dresser. He remembered running his fingers over them the way he did now. Identical. Back at the station, Sean pulled Claire's cold case file from the cabinet like it had been waiting for him. The photographs confirmed it. 5 sets of identical gouges on the wall of Claire's room. Same length, same depth, same location. Talia joined him in the briefing room. "You ever see anything like this in other cases?" he asked. She squinted at the photos. "Looks like someone clawed at the wall in panic. Or tried to leave a message." Talia flipped through her notes. Brooke's diary mentioned she was scared of someone. A name came up multiple times. Northbridge Logistics. Ever heard of it? Sean blinked. No. Freight company. Contracts with the Department of Defense. They're huge, private, very little oversight. Talia handed him a printout. CEO, Victor Hannigan, ex-Marine, war hero, now turned logistics magnate. Brooke wrote that she thought someone was following her, Talia added. Said she saw company trucks parked near her building, that the same black SUV kept showing up when she left class. Sean narrowed his eyes. Stalking, abduction, ritualized staging. This feels organized. Which means it's not over, Talia said. The next morning, Sean met with Special Agent Camille Ortiz from Homeland Security, someone he trusted from joint ops overseas. They sat in a diner just outside Loveland, sipping bitter coffee. Northbridge? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Hannigan's company? You know him? Not personally, but I've heard things. Contracts passed fast. Audits that vanish. He's got friends in high places. Sean leaned forward. Would it be possible to bury disappearances if they were tied to one of his distribution routes? Camille hesitated. If he wanted to move something, or someone, off the books. Yeah. His trucks cross 3 state lines daily. Nobody checks inside sealed containers from a DoD-certified hauler. Sean exhaled. Brooke was looking into him. She wasn't the first, Camille said quietly. There was a whistleblower 2 years ago. Employee named Marissa Cho. Filed a harassment complaint. Then she disappeared. Case went nowhere. Sean felt the noose tightening. A freight company. A powerful CEO. Missing women. Claire. Brooke. Something else, Camille added. 3 weeks ago, Hannigan filed a police complaint. Said a woman was trespassing on one of his depots in Nashville. Said she was taking photos. When patrol arrived, she was gone. Sean's blood chilled. What did she look like? Camille showed him the security still. Brooke Reynolds. That night, Sean sat alone in his apartment. The case files spread around him like a storm. Axel rested on the couch but wasn't asleep. His head lifted every time a floorboard creaked. Sean picked up the scarf from Brooke's box again. Inhaled deeply. The scent transported him. Claire, laughing in the kitchen, leaning in close. Her perfume like honey and fire. He stared at the scratches on the wall in the photos. Closed his eyes. Thought of Claire's hands. Then Brooke's. What were you trying to tell me? He whispered. A sudden knock at the door made him flinch. He opened it slowly, hand near his holstered sidearm. A package sat on the floor, no return address. He brought it inside, tore the tape, and opened it. Inside, a flash drive. He inserted it into his laptop. 1 video file, grainy footage, a dark room, a girl tied to a chair. Her head lifted. Brooke. Eyes bruised, face gaunt. Alive. She spoke, but the audio was garbled. Suddenly, a second figure appeared behind her. Sean's heart stopped. The woman stepped into the light. Dark hair, soft features, familiar eyes. Claire. She leaned down, whispered something to Brooke. Sean turned the volume to max. The audio clipped and broken, but one word came through clear. A name. Hannigan. The screen went black. Sean sat frozen, his heart jackhammering in his chest. Axel patted over and rested his head on Sean's knee. "I was wrong," Sean whispered. "She didn't just vanish." He looked down at Axel. "They took her, and they're still taking them." He stared at the screen, Brooke's bruised face lingering in his mind. They were alive. At least they had been. And now, he had a name. The fog rolled low and heavy through the backwoods of Tennessee, coiling around the pine trunks like smoke from an unseen fire. The North Bridge property wasn't marked on any map Sean Whitaker could access without a federal login, but Talia had traced the GPS metadata embedded in the video of Brooke and Claire to this location. Coordinates tied to a defunct shipping depot purchased under a North Bridge shell company 5 years ago. Now, under moonlight and the whir of drone surveillance, Sean stood at the edge of a dirt road that hadn't seen a tire track in months. Axel crouched low beside him, body taut, nose twitching. "Ready, boy?" Sean murmured. Axel gave a single sharp huff. Detectives, forensics, and a tactical team waited behind them, staged in silence. When the signal came over the radio, they moved. The cabin was nestled between dense pines, more of a shanty than a structure. Its rotting roof and overgrown porch gave it an abandoned feel, but as they got closer, it was clear the place had been used recently. Sean pushed open the back door with a creak that echoed far too loudly. The interior reeked of mildew and ammonia. The boards groaned beneath their boots. Then Axel's body language changed. He darted toward a trap door near the fireplace. "Here," Sean called, gesturing the team forward. 2 agents pried open the latch. Stale, cold air spilled upward like a buried exhale. A metal staircase led down into a darkness that felt unnatural. Axel went first. Sean followed. What they found below would chase them in nightmares for years. The basement was larger than the cabin above. An industrial space carved into concrete and lined with rusted steel shelves. Bloodstains darkened the cracked floor. Mold festered on an old mattress in the corner. And the air had that unmistakable scent. Rot, bleach, fear. Forensics began sweeping immediately. Sean stepped toward a metal table pushed against the far wall. A silver hairbrush lay there, its bristles tangled with long brown strands. He picked it up with gloved hands, turned it over. Etched in delicate cursive, C.R. Claire Reynolds. He staggered back a step. Axel growled, head low, staring at the far end of the room. That's when they found the restraint hooks bolted into the walls, still stained with something dark and dry. Zip ties, chains, scraps of cloth with initials. Every object catalogued and tagged by the forensic team told the same story. This was a place of holding, of suffering, and it wasn't just Claire's name here. DNA tests later confirmed it matched at least 4 other women reported missing within the last decade. "Jesus," one of the agents muttered. "This is a kill room." "No," Sean said softly. "This was a storage unit. Someone kept them here, alive. That someone had a name, Victor Hannigan." Sean didn't make it home that night. As he stepped out of his truck in front of his apartment the next evening, something felt wrong. Axel sensed it too, ears up, growling before Sean even reached for the door. Then it exploded open. A man in tactical black lunged from the shadows, broad-shouldered, military stride, the glint of steel in his hand. Axel reacted first, launching himself at the man's arm. The gun went off. The shot echoed through the complex. Axel yelped and hit the ground. Sean's instincts took over. He ducked low, fired twice. The man stumbled, grunted, and vanished into the night like smoke. But not before Sean got a good look. Square jaw, scar over one eye. Marcus Boyd, Hannigan's chief of security, ex-Special Forces. Last seen testifying before a congressional subcommittee on supply chain efficiency. Now he was sending a message, and he'd shot Sean's dog to do it. Sean dropped to the ground beside Axel, panic clawing at his throat. "Stay with me, buddy," he whispered, pressing his jacket into the wound on Axel's side. "Don't you go." Axel whimpered, his head twitching weakly. The ambulance took them both. At the hospital, a vet from the department patched Axel up. "Bullet missed vital organs, he's lucky. Might not return to duty, but he'll live." Sean didn't leave his side. Back at headquarters, he was suspended within the hour. Firing on a civilian contractor, they said. No confirmed threat, no warrant, no body. "You're compromised," said Chief Moran flatly. "This is personal now." Sean didn't argue. It was personal. That night, a courier delivered an unmarked envelope to Sean's motel room. Inside, a memory card. Sean plugged it into his laptop with shaking hands. The screen flickered. Another video. Another dark room. Brooke sat in the center, gagged, dried blood on her face, her eyes glassy, barely blinking. Then a voice spoke from off-camera, female, software shaking. "Don't look at the lens, Brooke. Just listen. If this gets to Sean..." The camera shifted. Claire Reynolds stared into the lens, paler, thinner, but unmistakably her. "Sean," she whispered. "You were right. It's him. It's always been him. Don't stop. Trust the dog. Always trust the dog." Then the screen cut to black. Sean sat frozen, barely breathing. Claire had been alive. Working undercover? Left behind? She'd uncovered something, and someone made her vanish. But her final message was clear. Trust Axel. Always. The next morning, Sean drove to the governor's press conference in Nashville. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted questions. And behind the velvet rope, Victor Hannigan stood at the microphone, shaking hands and smiling like nothing had ever happened. "Northbridge is proud to partner with state law enforcement," he was saying. Sean watched from the crowd, blood roaring in his ears. Axel was alive. Claire had left a trail. Brooke was still out there. And the man who orchestrated it all was standing in plain sight, hiding behind podiums and political favors. Sean turned and walked away, but not before locking eyes with Hannigan. Just for a moment. And in that moment, Sean saw it. The faintest flicker of recognition. And fear. Axel lay curled on the floor of Sean Whitaker's motel room, a gauze-wrapped patch across his ribs, his breathing deep but steady. The German shepherd's eyes fluttered occasionally, tracking movement even in his healing haze. Sean sat beside him, laptop open, headphones in, eyes narrowed on the grainy footage that had just changed everything. Claire was alive, or she had been, and she'd said a name, Victor Hannigan. But the final whisper, "Always trust the dog." That one echoed deepest. Talia Monroe had arrived 10 minutes ago with 2 cups of coffee and a folder filled with parsed metadata. I triple-checked the file's origin. It was shot in a location about 70 miles from the Tennessee site. And I tracked the raw audio to another device, dumped and copied. Guess where it leads? Sean looked up. "Where?" "South Georgia, another abandoned Northbridge property. We found satellite feeds of heat signatures, intermittent, but consistent with someone moving underground. You're going to want to see this." She opened a laptop and showed him the scanned blueprints of a compound. 1 central building, 3 underground levels, a network of reinforced concrete rooms, and more importantly, a tunnel system that connected the property to an off-the-grid airstrip. Sean's stomach turned. "They've been running women through this place for years," she said. "And Claire? She was working inside. Undercover. My guess? She tried to blow the whistle and paid the price." Sean rubbed his temples. "And Brooke? We don't know," Talia said softly. "But if she's alive, she's in that network. Maybe even in Georgia." Sean stood. "We go now." "You're still suspended." "Then you didn't see me go." It took a day to coordinate quietly. Talia worked her contacts. Camille Ortiz from Homeland Security slipped Sean the access keys, and when the team rolled out toward the Georgia compound, they did it quietly. No press, no warrants, no political oversight. Axel rode up front, bandaged but alert. He whined as they neared the pine-choked backroads. Sean reached out and touched his fur. "You remember the scent, don't you?" The moment they parked, Axel lunged forward, tail stiff, nose working overtime. They followed him through brush and bramble until they reached a concrete hatch beneath a tarp and camouflage netting. A faint hum buzzed beneath it, generators running low. Sean kicked it open. The air that rose was cold and sterile. They moved fast. 4 agents and Sean, sidearms drawn, flashlights cutting through the gloom. Down 3 levels, through the smell of damp rot and old disinfectant, they entered what looked like a medical facility turned prison. Axel barked once, short and sharp, and sprinted ahead. Sean followed until they reached a locked door with reinforced hinges. Inside, a woman lay curled on a cot. Alive, barely, Sophia Tran. Missing for 2 years. Her wrists were scarred, her breath shallow. But she whispered one name before they could even ask. "Hannigan." Talia radioed it in. "We've got her. We need extraction." But Sean wasn't done. Something tugged at his gut, an instinct that hadn't failed him since Afghanistan. He followed Axel down another corridor, where they found a control room behind tinted glass. Hard drives, paper files, screens showing feed from 6 other facilities. "This isn't a cell," Sean muttered. "It's a command post." They swept the drives and packed them out just as Hannigan's private security detail, off the books, ex-military, closed in from the rear access road. There was a standoff, then gunfire. Sean returned fire, pinned behind a shipping container, adrenaline roaring in his ears. But backup arrived. FBI, DHS, tipped off by Talia, moving fast and without the red tape. When the dust settled, 5 men were in cuffs, and 1 wasn't breathing. Marcus Boyd, shot center mass. No one wept. Back in Nashville, the files decrypted over the following days painted a horror story that stretched across state lines and spanned a decade. Victor Hannigan hadn't acted alone. He was just the middleman. Above him, a secretive group known as the Continental Order, an alliance of private contractors, lobbyists, and ex-intelligence agents profiting from the movement of women, children, and information across secure logistics channels. They operated behind walls of legality, using military funding as a smokescreen. And Claire? She'd been recruited to expose them and executed when they found out. The footage recovered from the Georgia facility showed her final days, interrogated, drugged, and eventually killed. Brooke had discovered the truth, that Claire wasn't dead, not yet, that the Reynolds name had become a target. That's why she ran, why she ended up in that suitcase. A message to Sean, but a miscalculation too. They never counted on the dog. With enough evidence in hand, federal agents stormed Hannigan's compound in Montana. They found him attempting to destroy documents and prepping for a helicopter escape. He was arrested without incident. At his arraignment, he pled not guilty. But he didn't make bail. Too much heat, too much attention, and too many dead girls buried in cold soil with initials sewn into doll clothes. A week later, Sean stood before Claire's grave with Axel at his side. The K-9 had been awarded the department's Medal of Valor, officially reinstated. Unofficially, he'd saved every one of them. Sean knelt, placing a small photo of Brooke next to the gravestone. She'd been identified from dental records, laid to rest beside Claire. The breeze stirred, lifting pine needles into the air. "She said to trust you," Sean whispered. And she was right. Axel nudged the stone gently with his nose. The radio crackled in Sean's cruiser as he pulled back onto the road. Dispatch. "Whitaker, we've got a 1057 in progress. Possible abduction. Lone vehicle sighting on Route 16. You nearby?" Sean looked at Axel. The shepherd was already alert, eyes forward, waiting. Sean grabbed the mic. "Copy that. We're on it." And just like that, they were moving again, man and dog into the night, chasing the next truth that needed to be found.